Welcome to the game of sales, the ultimate podcast for sales professionals ready to dominate the battlefield of business. If you're looking for proven strategies, battle tested tactics, and real world insight to close deals, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Desi Barnes, and it's time to level up your game.
One, two, three, four.
Alright, welcome back. On today's podcast, we'll dive into advanced tactics to close faster. Let me start with this. Deals die when they stall. Period. If you're sitting there staring at your pipeline, watching deals just sit, let me tell you what's happening. The longer a deal takes, the more risk you're adding. Competitors creep in, decision makers get distracted, and let's not forget, your buyer's excitement fades. Here's the real kicker. Most of the time, it's not the buyer slowing things down, it's you. I know that's a tough pill to swallow, but hear me out. If you're not leading the process, your buyers won't move. They don't know what comes next. They're already juggling 10 other priorities, and they're looking to you for guidance. Let me give you an example. A sales rep I worked with, we'll call her Emily, was pitching a six-figure marketing solution to a mid-sized company. She crushed the discovery call, sent over a polished proposal, and the client said, "This looks great. Let us talk internally and we'll get back with you." Sounds familiar? Now, what did Emily do next? She followed up. A week later, no response. She followed up again. Nothing. By week 3, the deal was ice cold. Here's what happened. Emily waited. She assumed the client would drive the process forward on their own. But here's the truth. Buyers don't close deals. You do. You have to own the process. You have to keep momentum high, and most importantly, you have to guide the buyer to a decision, step by step, without pushing too hard. So today, I'm going to give you 3 advanced tactics that the top closers use to close faster, without sounding desperate or breaking trust. These aren't tricks or gimmicks. They're strategic moves that make you close feel real natural and easy. Here's what we're covering today. Number 1, how to pre-frame the close so your buyer knows exactly what to expect. 2, how to use mutual action plans to keep deals on track and eliminate ghosting. 3, how to speed up decisions with reverse close framework. By the end of this episode, you'll have the tools you can use right now to shorten your sales cycle, stop deals from stalling, and close faster every single time. Now, before we dive into tactic 1, I want to hit you with this. Speed matters. According to research from the Harvard Business Review, deals that close in under 30 days are 60% more likely to stick. Salespeople who control the timeline are 2 times more likely to hit quota. But speed doesn't mean rushing. It means leading. It means having a clear plan, setting expectations early, and making every step feel smooth for your buyer. So if you're ready to stop hearing, "Let me think about it," and start hearing, "Let's do this," let's get into tactic 1. Pre-framing the close, how to set up the path early and control the timeline. Let's get into tactic 1. Pre-framing the close. This is one of the most powerful strategies top sales pros use to keep deals moving forward naturally without forcing the buyer or losing momentum. Here's the problem. Most reps wait until the very end of the process to ask for the sale. They treat the close like a big moment, something that happens at the finish line. And what happens? The buyer stalls. They are caught off guard. They say, "Let me think about it," because they weren't mentally prepared to make a decision. But here's the reality. Closing doesn't start at the end. It starts at the beginning. Pre-framing the close plants the idea of a decision early. So by the time you get there, it feels like a natural next step, not a leap. What is pre-framing? Pre-framing the close means setting expectations early and reinforcing them throughout the sales process. It's about letting your buyer know what comes next so there are no surprises. Here is a simple truth. Buyers hate uncertainty. If they don't know where the process is headed, they'll hesitate. But when you pre-frame the close, you're leading the way in removing that uncertainty completely. Let me give you a practical example. Let me say you're on a discovery call with a prospect. Instead of leaving the outcome open-ended, you can pre-frame the close right there. You say, here's how this works. If we both feel like there is a good fit after today's call, the next step will be to schedule a time to get everything set up so we can hit your goals quickly. Sounds good? What does that do? 1. It sets the expectation that a decision will happen if there's alignment. 2. It shifts the buyer's mindset from will we move forward to what's the next step. You're not being pushy, you're just guiding the process and making the outcome clear. Here's why pre-framing the close is so powerful. 1. It removes pressure at the end. Instead of springing the close on your buyer, you've prepared them for it from the start. 2. It keeps momentum high. The buyer knows where the process is headed, so they're less likely to drag their feet. 3. It positions you as a leader. Buyers want to work with someone who's confident and in control. Pre-framing shows you have a clear plan. Top closers never leave the next steps up to chance. They tell the buyers what's coming and they get their agreement up front. Here's a 3-step framework to pre-frame the close at every step of your sales process. Step 1. Pre-frame early. Start pre-framing in your very first call or meeting. Lay out the steps so your buyer knows what to expect. Example for a discovery call. If today's conversation looks like a good fit, we'll set up a follow-up call to finalize the details and get things rolling. Fair enough? This simple language makes the close feel natural. You're not asking for a decision, you're guiding them towards it. Step 2. Reinforce every milestone. Don't stop at the first call. Pre-frame the close again after sending a proposal, after reviewing objections, and before your final conversation. And here's how it sounds after sending a proposal. Once you've had a chance to review the proposal, the next step would be to get this locked in so we can hit your timeline. Does that work for you? You're reinforcing the expectation and keeping the momentum alive. Step 3. Tie the close to their goals. Make sure every pre-frame connects back to what the buyer cares about most, solving their problems and achieving their goals. Example, this solution will help you reduce your turnaround times by 30%. If that aligns with your goals, the next step is to finalize everything and get you started. When you tie the close to their priorities, it doesn't feel like a sale, it feels like progress. Here's the key takeaway. Pre-framing the close removes hesitation and builds confidence. Your buyer will never feel blindsided because they'll know exactly what to expect every step. Stop waiting until the end to ask for the deal. Start guiding your buyer to a decision from the very first conversation. If you do this right, the close won't feel like a hurdle. It will feel like the natural, obvious next step. Here's my challenge to you. On the next 3 calls, pre-frame the close early. Tell your buyer exactly what the next steps are and get their agreement up front. Then reinforce it at every major milestone. Track what happens. You'll see less hesitation, more momentum, and faster closes. Alright, let's move on to tactic 2, where I'll show you how to use mutual action plans to keep your deals on track and eliminate ghosting for good. Alright, let's move on to tactic 2, using a mutual action plan or MAP. Here's the reality. One of the biggest reasons deals stall is because there is no clear path to the finish line. You sent the proposal, the buyer seems interested, but suddenly, radio silence. Why does this happen? Because the buyers are busy. Your deal isn't the only thing on their plate. And when they don't know what the exact next steps are, it's easy for the deal to get buried under a pile of other priorities. That's where a mutual action plan comes in. A map is your secret weapon to keep deals on track. Eliminate ghosting and give your buyers confidence in the process. What is it? A map or a mutual action plan is a simple, shared roadmap of what needs to happen and when to get the deal done. It is collaborative, so your buyer feels like you're working with them, not pushing them. And most importantly, it creates accountability. Top sale pros swear by this because when buyers see a clear plan, they are far more likely to follow through. Why maps work. Before I show you how to build a mutual action plan, let's talk about why it works so well. Number one, it eliminates uncertainty. Buyers hate surprises, and a map shows them exactly what to expect. Number two, it keeps the deal top of mind. Buyers get busy, but a shared plan reminds them that the progress is being made. 3. It builds commitment. When your buyer agrees to the plan, they're mentally committing to the process. Here's a key stat. Deals with a clear action plan are 65% more likely to close on time. So, do you build one? Let's break it down step by step. Step 1. Collaborate to build the plan. First, don't just hand your buyer a timeline. Build it together. You want to create a plan that feels like a partnership. Here's what you say after a successful discovery call or proposal review. To make sure we hit your goals, let's outline the next steps together. I'll share a plan and we'll tweak it as needed to match your timeline. Sounds good? Now, you're not just telling them what to do, you're working with them to make sure it happens. Buyers love this because it feels collaborative, not pushy. Step 2. Break the plan into clear steps. Next, break the plan into small, clear milestones. Your map should have 3 things. 1. The action. What needs to happen? 2. The owner. Who's responsible? 3. The deadline. When it gets done. Here's an example for a business-to-business SaaS deal. Step 1. The discovery call. The owner, both parties. Deadline, Monday, June the 10th. Step 2. Proposal review and feedback. Owner, buyer, and sales rep. Deadline, Thursday, June the 13th. Step 3. Budget approval from finance. Owner, buyer. Deadline, Tuesday, June 18th. Step 4. Final decision and contract sign. Owner, both parties. Deadline, Friday, June the 21st. This structure keeps everything simple and actionable. Your buyer knows exactly what happens next, who's responsible, and when it needs to get done. Step 3. Confirm and send the plan. Finally, once you've outlined the steps, confirm the plan and send it over. Here's what you say. Alright, here's our action plan to get everything wrapped up. If this works for you, we'll hit your timeline perfectly. Are there any changes you would like to make? Once they agree, send it in writing, either as a follow-up email or a shared Google Doc, or through your CRM. Tools like HubSpot or Salesforce make it easy. And here's a pro tip. Add calendar reminders for key milestones so you can follow up with precision. What happens next? Now the process feels real. The buyer has mentally bought into these steps and you've created mutual accountability to get the deal done. Here's the bottom line. Deals stall because buyers don't know what happens next. A mutual plan solves that by giving you and your buyer a clear roadmap to follow. It turns your deal from just another to-do into a project with momentum and accountability. And when you're leading the process, you eliminate ghosting and close faster every single time. Here's my challenge to you. On your next 2 deals, create a mutual action plan with your buyer. Build it together and send it in writing and track what happens. You'll notice fewer delays, more follow-throughs, and faster decisions. Alright, let's move on to tactic 3, where I'll teach you the reverse close, a powerful framework to speed up decisions without pressuring your buyer. Alright, let's move into tactic 3, and this one's a game changer. It's called the reverse close. a strategy that turns buyers' objections into commitments and moves the deal forward. Here's the truth. Objections are where most sales reps lose control of the deal. A buyer says something like, "We're not ready yet," or "This feels expensive," and the rep freezes, or worse, starts pushing back in a way that feels defensive. Here's what you need to understand. Objections are not deal killers. In fact, they're signals of interest. If someone is objecting, it means they're engaged. They're just unsure about something. The best closers know how to use objections to reframe the buyer's decisions. And that's exactly what the reverse close does. Instead of fighting the objection, you use it in an opportunity to clarify the buyer's thinking and guide them back to why they need this solution in the first place. Let's break this down step by step. Step 1. Acknowledge and disarm the objection. The first step is to acknowledge and disarm the objection. Most sales reps make one of two mistakes when they hear an objection. 1. They get defensive and try to argue. 2. They back down completely and lose control of the conversation. Instead, you need to validate the buyer's concern and show empathy. Here's an example. Buyer, "This feels too expensive." You, "I completely get that. This is an important investment, and you need to be sure it's the right one." By acknowledging the objection, you're doing two things. One, you're lowering their guard. Buyers expect you to push back, so when you don't, they relax. Two, you're building trust. You're showing that you understand their hesitation and you're here to help, not to pressure them. Step 2. Flip the objection into a question. Now that you've disarmed the objection, you're going to flip it into a question. This is the secret sauce of the reverse close because it puts the focus back on the buyer and forces them to clarify their concern. Here's how it works. Example 1. Buyer, "We're not sure if it's worth the investment." You, "I hear you. ROI is a big deal. What results would you need to see to feel comfortable about this investment?" Example 2. Buyer, "We're not ready to make this decision yet." You, "Got it. Timing is important. What do you need to happen for you to feel ready?" Notice what is happening here? By flipping the objection into a question, you're putting the buyer in a position to clarify their own thinking. 9 times out of 10, as they talk through it, they'll start to reaffirm why they need to move forward. For example, if a buyer says, "We're not sure if this is the right time," and you ask, "What would make this the right time?" they might say something like, "Well, we really need to hit our Q3 targets." Boom. Now you know exactly what's holding them back, and you can tie your solution to their priority. Step 3. Reaffirm the value and next steps. Once the buyer has clarified their concern, it's your job to guide them back to the value of your solution and show them how it aligns with what they care about the most. Here's the framework you're going to use. From what you shared, restate their concern is important to you. That's exactly why this solution is a great fit, because it helps you solve their problem or achieve their goal. Then tie it to a clear next step. Here's an example. Buyer, "We're not sure if this will give us the results we need." You, "Totally fair. Results matter. From what you told me earlier, increasing your team's productivity by 20% is a top priority, right? This solution is built specifically to deliver that, and we've seen it happen time and time again. Here's what I recommend. Let's get you started with the first step and measure the results together. Does that work for you?" Notice how I'm bringing it back to their goals and positioning it to the next step as a logical solution. That's the reverse close in action. The buyer's hesitation isn't ignored or dismissed. It's addressed, clarified, and used to reinforce the decision to move forward. Here's the bottom line. Objections are not the end of the conversation. They're the beginning of a new one. The reverse close works because it reframes objections as opportunities. You're not pushing or defending. You're guiding the buyer to see that moving forward is the best solution to their problems. When you master this, objections won't feel like roadblocks anymore. They'll feel like stepping stones to the close. Here's my challenge to you. On your next three calls, I want you to use the reverse close the moment you hear an objection. Number one, acknowledge and validate the concern. Two, flip it into a question and get the buyer talking. Three, guide them back to the value and tie it to clear next steps. Track what happens. You'll notice fewer stalls, fewer let me think about it, and a lot more buyers saying, you're right, let's move forward. All right, let's wrap this up with a quick recap and your action plan to start closing deals faster this week. All right, let's recap what we've covered today. In this episode, we explored three advanced tactics to help you close deals faster without pushing too hard or losing trust. Tactic 1, pre-frame the close. Closing doesn't start at the end, it starts at the very beginning of the process. By setting expectations early, you're guiding the buyer toward the close naturally. Remember, pre-frame at every stage, discovery calls, proposals, and before the final call, so your buyer always knows what comes next. Tactic 2, use a mutual action plan. Deals stall when there's no clear path to the finish line. A mutual action plan eliminates uncertainty by laying out the steps, owners, and deadlines. Build a plan collaboratively so your buyer feels invested, and reinforce it in writing to keep momentum strong. Simple steps, clear accountability, and mutual commitment. That's how you keep deals moving forward. Finally, tactic 3, the reverse close. Objections aren't deal breakers, they're opportunities. First, acknowledge and validate the objection to lower their guard. Second, flip the objection into a question to clarify their concern. Finally, reaffirm the value of your solution and tie it to their goals. Remember, objections aren't the end of the conversation. They're the beginning of a better one. Now it's time to put these tactics into action. Here's my challenge for you today. Number 1, pre-frame the close on your next three calls. Start the conversation by setting clear expectations for what happens next and reinforce it through the process. 2, for your next active deal, create a mutual action plan. Collaborate with your buyer to outline the next steps, confirm it in writing, and hold each other accountable. 3. Finally, on your next objection, use the reverse close. Acknowledge the concern, flip it into a question, and guide the buyer back to the value. Track what happens. Watch how these strategies reduce hesitation, keep momentum strong, and move your deal to yes faster than ever before. Here's the bottom line. Speed doesn't mean rushing. It means leading. Deals don't close themselves, and buyers don't always know how to move forward. That's your job. When you take control of the process, set expectations, and address objections with confidence, closing becomes easy. You got the tools, now it's time to execute. Remember, sales isn't about pressure, it's about progress. Let's go out there today and start closing faster, smarter, and better than ever before. I want to thank you for listening to The Game of Sales, the podcast where strategy meets skill and every move counts. If you found value in today's episode, do me a favor, share this with a teammate or a friend who needs to hear it. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next episode. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Desi Barnes, and I'll see you next time on The Game of Sales. Now let's go get that win.
1, 2,